Hey, I'm Nardean and I'm a singer, songwriter, rapper, poet, creator, human on planet Earth, in the Milky Way. I'll stop. And I'm here in my studio. Welcome, St Clair 2759 reppin', West Sydney reppin'. And I'm going to show you around my neighbourhood. I feel like I look like a child that's just won a trophy at...
Hey! Coming together better than I could have ever hoped for. Better than I could have ever. Emphatic endeavor, pleasure too difficult to measure. Oh Lord, I'll tell the pressure never and keep to the center.
I started writing, so right now, we're at the back of the house I grew up in. And in there is I love my family to death, don't get me wrong. But in there is really strict Arab Christian family, and I didn't realize that you could do music as a career. I was studying to be an English and drama teacher, and I thought you would just kind of did that, got married and died and hopefully went to heaven, that was the plan. So I thought music was a sin, especially because so much of the popular music that my parents would have experienced is really sexualized. Long story short, kind of a bunch of synchronistic events happened and I was like, oh, you can do whatever you want with your life? What the hell? That's crazy. I think at that point, I kind of had this realization of wow, so many people are trapped in ideas of who they think they are or what they think they have to be or trying to make their parents happy or whatever. So I was just trying to, at that point, it was hey guys, did you know that everything you've ever been told was a lie? That was pretty much what was inspiring me. Welcome to my studio. So this is where I make music. It used to be my dad's library, and then when I moved back here, I was like, all right, mate, it wasn't that easy. He really didn't want to do that. Now that I've got my shit together, and I'm doing it, I'm doing the artist life, then they've come around. I've kind of had this realization, everyone's just trying to do their best, my parents included. And now that I've been living here for the past year and a bit as well, and I just realized they were just doing what they thought was right, and they just wanted, it's a hard business, music is a hard business, and so they just wanted me to be okay. They've seen that I love it and I'm happy, and they see me in here building shit and getting it happening, and they're like, nice work, yeah. This was my neighbor's piano. I saw it hanging out there in their backyard when they pulled their fence down, and then they just gave it to me for free. They're marked wrong. Last year as I was writing this EP, it felt like there were a lot of, and it's so interesting how I didn't realize how relevant that title was going to be this year, because boy has it been a new era. My understanding of the new era, in one sense, was about balance. And the new era is one where everything comes back into balance and we accept our own everything, our own spectrum. Then that brings together, it creates more sovereign aligned humans who can all then be kinder to one another. This is my plant, one plant. This is plant 1. This is plant 2, 3, 4, and 5, and 6. All my plants, thank you. They're my friends, they help me. So poetry is everything. When I first started rapping, and when I first decided I wanted to make music, there was I saw a woman on stage rapping. Her name was Mira. Her name is Mira. She's dope, from Sydney. And, being the awkward kind of, not awkward, hungry and had no idea about the industry kind of beginner that I was, I sent her this stupid long message where I was this is what I've been writing these poems, and what advice would you give me, this message on Messenger. We ended up having a Skype call. And she said to me, this was before I'd even ever laid down anything on a track. She was write poetry and perform it at spoken word nights. If you want to rap, well, do that. because it'll teach you to mean what you say and to articulate what you're saying. And I was like, okay, cool, like dope. And I did that, and the poetry has played like such a huge part. Because now I won't really write anything unless I can speak it as a poem. These are my goals. Yeah, I'm just like making tunes or making music, and this is my booth, which I just built, which I'm really excited about. Ooh. And then, because if you feel happy, it's a cute light song, then you do this. You know? Isn't that a good time? So this is a fucking IKEA wardrobe, like under here. I bought the wardrobe, I put it together. This is mattress topper from Kmart, this stuff. And I like drilled it in myself. This is like an old desktop, like not a desktop computer, like the top of a desk. And like, if you can see, it's all held up with books. This is like my old mattress. It works though, you know, you gotta be resourceful when you're an independent artist. I can barely sing and play at the same time. I really don't. Tonight you're mine, complete. It's really hard to sing and play. I'm just gonna play. The main thing I want people to feel when they hear my music is that it's okay to be human. And I would love, you know, I would have loved to answer that with like kind of a message of empowerment or like, yeah, you rock or whatever. But you're not always going to feel like that. Some days you're going to feel litty. Some days you're going to feel shitty. And both of those are fine. Fuck, that was good. Growing up in Western Sydney was just what it was, you know, like I had no concept of the fact that I was growing up in Western Sydney back then, if that makes sense. I guess the only real times that it was apparent to me that where I grew up was different. Someone would be like, where are you from? And I'd say like, oh, you know, St Clair. It's like, oh, like Mount Druitt, you know, next to Mount Druitt. And they'd be like, oh, but you sound so smart. Like growing up in the West was like community and like going to church a lot and hanging out and Mountie shops, you know, like I go there a lot now. That's what's happening right now with this uprising. It's like, and it's the same thing that happened with hip hop in New York when it came out of the Bronx. It came out of underprivileged, like oppressed people with a voice. And now like kind of, it's like a pressure cooker, right? Western Sydney, because like we're fucking like sick of being under-resourced, having this stupid stereotype of like every night in the news, like someone else is getting stabbed in like fucking Granville, you know? Like that's all you hear in the news. And so now it's like, well, we're done. And like, that's where all this like creativity and like this crazy like culture is now bubbling out. It's so lit. Like Elfresh was telling me when he was at Big Sound last year, you know, something like 70% of all the hip-hop and R&B acts were all from Western Sydney. You know, I'm like, yeah, of course they were. If you suppress something, if you push something down, that energy that you're pushing down, like it has to come out another way. And so that's why you get like these crazy art forms being born out of like suppression, because it's like, all the stuff that you're pushing down, like it leaks out into like, well, fuck, like I have to write songs or like I have to achieve, like I have to succeed, you know, because everyone's telling me I can't. Well, like, fuck you. I can and I will, you know. I've got some, I got some songs that I'm working on, and I have a show on the 29th of November. I'm really excited to play live music again. And then, yeah, I'm just writing songs and like really refining, like really figuring out what I want to sound like, and like I want to make more content as well that's like talking about all the things, you know, not just music, like talking about this kind of social media stuff and like how, and like making sense of the world, and really trying to help artists. For the piece of work that's at the gallery, Elfresh and I got approached by Jonathan Wilson, who works at the art gallery. He's a music curator there. It's about community or conquest, you know, like this idea of like, does one person rise to the top, or should we all support each other, you know? And it was really fun to write with Elfresh, and it's in there. It's fucking, I'm just on a big TV in the art gallery of New South Wales. It's fucking nuts. Like there's not even a venue in Western Sydney, you know, like a dedicated music venue like Oxford Arts, like shit like that. Like we need a venue, you know? Places like Street Uni that are doing what needs to be done, which is like showing kids, like, or just a space to create. But yeah, like studios, venues, like, I mean, shit, even better public transport, you know? Just to make it easy to go out and to create, like, it's the culture of creativity and like being able to live the life that you want to live, not the life that someone else that thinks that you want to live, you know? There's this kind of idea of tall poppy syndrome that gets talked about a lot in Australia, and how we like to cut people down and we don't like to see people winning. But I think that the more we invest in the scene, so there's this quote that I love, which is like, a rising tide lifts all boats. And like the more we invest in the scene, the bigger it gets. So it's about shit like going to each other's shows. It's about like giving back to like so like with the West, for example, like going and doing like workshops with kids, you know, who like, if someone had done that for me when I was in school, then like I would have known that I could be an artist, whereas I didn't know that I could do that, you know? So it's about like, I think it's about like putting fertilizer in the ground so that the plants can grow, you know? And the ground is like the scene.